It's the Brian Lehrer Show. I'm Kusha Navidar, filling in for Brian today here on WNYC. Now we'll talk about how people, communities, and businesses in New York are feeling the effects of the federal immigration crackdown. Back in May, Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, promised to pour more ICE agents into major cities, including New York this summer.
We're going to flood the zone. You're going to see more ICE agents you've ever seen before. So congratulations.
The Department of Homeland Security hasn't confirmed that they're broadening ICE operations in the city, but watchdog organizations like New York City Icebreaker and Hands Off NYC have noted major spikes in ICE activity this summer. According to a study cited by one of my guests, roughly 93% of ICE arrests target Latinos. But Haitian immigrants whose temporary protected status designation ended abruptly on July 27th now feel like they're also in the crosshairs. Joining us now are Rommel Ojeda, senior community correspondent and engagement reporter for Documented, and Ralph Thomassaint Joseph, Caribbean communities correspondent for Documented. Rommel and Ralph, welcome to WNYC.
Thanks for having
us. Absolutely. So, Rommel, let's start with you. You recently reported on a rally at Corona Plaza in Queens against the apparent surge in ICE presence in the area. Some of our listeners might not be familiar with Corona Plaza, so can you tell us about its importance as a community hub?
Absolutely. Corona Plaza is literally at the center of Corona in Queens, which is one of the most heaviest dense populations with foreign from people who were born like outside of the country, right? I believe more than 60% are immigrants. And Corona Plaza has also been a hub for street vendors and a lot of Latino communities who have made the borough their home, this part specifically. And what is interesting about this area and why the protest and the rally was held there is that Corona has also seen a huge number of arrests that it has targeted Latino immigrants. We reported on one corner that saw 7 arrests in one day, for example. And what has been happening in this area is that ICE has often been cited by community organizers and volunteers who have taken photos of them on the streets and basically say that ICE officials are constantly on the areas of the street of Roosevelt and also around the area in schools. And because there is no sort of confirmation or any ICE data released, for the previous months of June and July, what these groups have done is taken the photos and the reports and have sort of, reported the increase themselves.
So did I hear you correctly when you said that in the Corona Plaza area, more than or about 60% of folks there are immigrants?
Yes. I believe it's more than 60%. It might be even higher.
Yeah.
With a lot of people being born in Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, Mexico as well.
So it is a community hub for folks from outside of the United States who are now living here. And also, like you said, a lot of street vendors, a big place for commerce. The protest there, I want to dig into that a little bit. What was the mood on the ground there? Were there any noticeable differences between this protest and others that you've attended in that part of Queens?
I would say that you see less immigrants attending this protest as compared to in the previous months since the Trump administration took office. What you see now is basically community organizers who are also trying to do and provide actionable information to the neighbors. This rally specifically was more of a responsive rally where after they spoke what they had seen, they went out into the neighborhood and knocking on businesses to provide know your rights material and also whistles, right? Because a lot of the times when there is a sighting or if someone is getting arrested by an ICE official, community members, they have this pattern of using the whistle to notify other neighbors who may have a stable immigration status or who are citizens who then can come out to sort of support and push away the ICE agents, who might be stopping people on the street.
Yeah, and Rommel, we got a stat here from my producer. You're totally right. Even more so, an article from March of 2025, New York Times says Corona is about 75% Hispanic. So at least 75%, maybe more. So to your point before. Ralph, let's turn it to you. You've been reporting in Brooklyn's Little Caribbean neighborhood. How dramatic has the change in that area been since Haitian immigrants lost their temporary protected status last month?
Yeah, well, I can say there's a lot of fear because hundreds of thousands of people have lost their legal protection and their work permit as well, following the Trump administration's decision to end CPS. And as a result, in the Haitian community, especially in Flatbush, where there is a high concentration of Haitian immigrants, there is a clear fear in the streets because there are less people. People don't show up to work, and many businesses have lost their staff. So if you go in some key areas where usually there are many Haitian immigrants, you will see that there are less people because of people fear, ICE raids. People are seeing how immigrants are being treated currently in Ohio, where they're being fitted with ankle monitors. And many people, they don't go out because they fear the consequences of family separation. So there are many reasons why people don't show up. And we can say the main one is because of ICE arrest in the area.
And I want to touch on something that you just brought up, Ralph, about the businesses there having to cope with this, because you spoke specifically to restaurant owners. I think it was two of them whose businesses you described as in free fall, right? How are they coping?
Yeah, so this is pretty hard because I think this story is a kind of follow-up stories because we've heard business owners before the decision was enacted. I mean, ending TPS for Haiti. So as you know, in the Haitian community here in New York, there are many restaurants, and those
Hmm.
restaurants they rely on a workforce uh, that is experience, it's cultural food, it's people who are used to work on those places for many years because let me say this, there are TPS holders who have been living in the United States for decades, for over 30 years. So now those restaurant owners, they've lost their staffs. For example, in my piece, I spoke with one of those restaurant owner who is based in Brooklyn, John Restaurant. He lost nine people and his staff,
Mm.
and he's now working many shifts to compensate. And also, there's a drop in the orders because many people, they fear they don't have money anymore, and there are many delivery workers who fear to go out to work. So not only they have lost their staff, but their business have gone down in terms of how many people order. So we are seeing now the direct impact of the decision to end CPS. And this is something that advocates have warned multiple times. There have been many amicus briefs telling, warning about the consequences of ending TPS on businesses, on families, and community. And I can tell you from my covering, this is exactly the result that we're seeing now.
I mean, nine people for a restaurant staff is a huge amount of
Yeah.
your supply capability. How do they cope with that? And how do they cope
Yeah.
with the demand side too? Sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead, please.
Yeah. Well, so you, for example, there is a Fred, running Rebel restaurant in Manhattan. So it happened that Fred is running another restaurant in New Jersey as well. So the thing now, he's thinking about closing temporarily because he has some job listing and, he still can't find people to fill out those positions. So now he said that his staff, he's working extra hours and the workload is pretty heavy on them. And, frankly, they're thinking, about closing for a short time until they have people who can replace those CPS holders.
Mm.
But they said in those pieces that it's pretty hard to replace these people because we're talking about people who are experienced, who are skilled workers. So it takes time for these restaurants to train people to come with a new staff, and food must stay the same, and people must be um, you know get along with everything that's going on at restaurants. So it's hard for them to cope. And frankly, some of them are thinking about closing for a short time.
Yeah. Listeners, we want to bring you into this conversation. Have you noticed more ICE agents in your community this summer? Are you a Haitian immigrant affected by the termination of your temporary protected status? Or have you or someone you know considered what we're calling self-deporting? To be clear, we're only going to ask for your first name in this segment. So if you have fear, hopefully that alleviates it. We would really love to hear callers who have firsthand experience with this, who are going through it right now. Give us a call or send us a text at 212-433-WNYC. That's 212-433-9692. And like Ralph was just mentioning, we'd also like to hear from small business owners. Have you had employees leave out of fear of detention or deportation? Have you lost out on business? How are you coping? Give us a call, 212-433-9692. Okay, Rommel, I want to bring this back to you. You spoke to a man who carries the ticket for his upcoming flight back to Honduras wherever he goes in case he has an encounter with ICE. So I'm wondering for you, has it become, as you've seen, a common practice to keep that sort of documentation on hand? Do you have any idea of whether that's an effective strategy?
Yeah, I have seen more people carry their documents with them. In previous months, people would say, I have my work permit, right? Which is a document that they use to be employed, or sometimes they also carry their social security number card. But lately, I've been seeing that more people no longer see those documents as being proof enough to show that they are in the country, seeking asylum, which is a legal pathway, or that they have a sort of immigration status here. Sometimes people also carry some phone numbers that they have written down in case they are detained so that they can call their lawyers, they can call their schools. And most often, you also see people with a paper listing down their medications that they can show in case they're detained. In this case specifically, he carries his plane ticket for next month, which he plans to depart to Honduras. And what is interesting about this story too, when I spoke with him, is that he was feeling a lot of stress throughout the early months, and then seeing and hearing people, dying at ICE detention centers in Newark, for example, where there has been, 3 reported deaths connected to it. They just cannot handle the stress and the uncertainty. So he called CBP One Home app, which is the app that the government uses to sort of allow immigrants to leave the country on their own. And he told them, I don't need anything. I don't want the $2,600 bonus that they offer. I just want to be sure that I can leave and not be in a detention center.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and the person on the other line, according to him, told him that he's 99%, sure that he's not going to be detained.
I was just going to say, you bringing up that prescription list to keep on hand in case you get detained is very striking. It's like centering your whole life around a possibility that follows you wherever you go. And I think that's very insidious. I mean, both of you describe scenes of immigrants living in a constant state of paranoia, unsure whether to self-deport, even if they have legal grounds to be here. So, Rommel, I'm wondering, do you think that's more a function of the immediate fear of being detained by ICE or a general lack of hope for a stable life in the U.S.?
I think it's both. I think uncertainty plays a big role into the fear that they have, with policies changing every other week, with funding being taken away from legal representation for unaccompanied minors, for example. And then there's also the reports that people see on social media and from newspapers about the conditions in the centers, right? And most of the times, you're also hearing that people are being detained for months or even years before they can file a habeas petition, a habeas corpus petition to challenge their detention. Or, as you know, with immigration bonds also being limited in certain districts. That is what is making people afraid. They don't want to be in a situation where they have to be waiting months inside a center without adequate food, without adequate accommodations if they have some sort of disabilities as well.
Listeners, we want to hear from your experience. Give us a call or send us a text. We're at 212-433-9692. That's 212-433-WNYC. We had one caller who asked not to be on, but said he had a family member in a nursing home where 4 Haitian residents had been deported. I'd also like to bring down Janet from Manhattan. Hi, Janet. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hi. Yes, I wonder if you can verify something for me. I heard something on another station from a man who does a program there, a 1 hour a week program on Haiti, and he said something that was rather disturbing. He said that Mayor has fired some Haitian workers who work for the city when they lost their status and presumably don't have the right to work anymore. I don't know how many workers that involved, but can you verify that story? And he was very disappointed. He said that Mamdani promised the Haitian community he would stand by them, he would support them. So do you know anything about that?
So we have checked this out, and then Ralph, I'm going to turn it to you, but this is the Mamdani statement on the firing of TPS holders, and I quote, "The city of New York was forced by federal law, as recently decided by the Supreme Court, to review the work authorization of Haitian TPS holders." Mamdani said this in a statement on Friday, and quote, "Only President Trump has the power to restore TPS. The president should exercise his authority to benefit all New Yorkers and protect our economy and provide certainty for employers and communities." So, Ralph, I'm wondering if you could add anything to that. It seems like this effect of revoking TPS status is putting some local government issues in a real bind. Is that fair to say?
Yes, so I don't have the exact numbers. From the coverage I've seen, there are dozens of people impacted in the city. And as you mentioned, so the Mamdani team clearly said that they're invited to, obey federal law. So this will be probably my next coverage. I'll be targeting those people who've been working for the city to see, the kind of impact on them and what's their plan are. But it's confirmed that the city had to fire these people because unfortunately they were working on a work authorization based on TPS.
Let's go to Sean in Ridgewood, New Jersey. Hi, Sean. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks a lot. I have a landscaping business in Ridgewood, and years ago, I've been doing this for about 35 years. I had Americans working for me, and that was fine. Then a lot of immigrants came in from Costa Rica, Mexico, El Salvador, and started getting jobs doing landscaping. And I eventually did get some Latinos working for me. I pay them on the books, and they get a decent wage, about $20 to $24 an hour. And if these guys, what happens with a lot of these guys is they've overstayed their visas. They maybe got stopped at the border and they were supposed to go to court and they never did. I still pay these guys on the books, even though they might be in this kind of situation where if they get picked up, they're going to be put into the detention center and then maybe deported. There are no Americans that want to do this job. If there are, they probably want to get at least $35 an hour. And then the lawn maintenance prices are going to jump drastically. There might be a lot of guys that just might go out of business because they're not going to be able to find the help.
Sean, thank you so much for that call and for offering your personal experience with that as a business owner. And Rommel, I'd love to turn it to you because something that Sean said that really stuck out to me was, and I'm trying to quote here, but it's off the top of my head, no Americans are willing to fill these jobs, or if they would be, it would be for a higher price. I think Sean mentioned like $35 an hour. Does that match with your coverage? Because we've been talking so far about business owners and restaurants, et cetera, but this reaches very far, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have seen reports around the country where construction companies are unable to find workers who have been, scared of going to the work sites, right? The other thing we see in New York, for example, and in New Jersey as well, sometimes day laborers who would go to Home Depot to work, for one day, they are no longer going to those areas because ICE tends to be frequenting the parking lots and trying to detain and to arrest and detain people there. And we have also heard from restaurant businesses who have lost a lot of employees, especially in areas that are heavily populated by Spanish speakers and Latino immigrants, where they are struggling to find new people to come in, to be trained, to do the jobs that perhaps might take some time to make a decent amount of money and, go up the ladder in a restaurant, for example.
We've got another text here that says, all my non-white friends, even though are natural-born Americans, carry their passport as well as driver's license on them 24/7. This one struck me personally because I'm an immigrant. I've had to have a conversation with my wife about whether I should carry my passport or not, and it's been a real question I've personally had to confront. And I'm sure that a lot of folks out there might be feeling similarly, whether they're an immigrant or a natural-born citizen. There's another text here that says, in Connecticut, we have the Red Folder Project. They use volunteer attorneys to help them assemble paperwork, including habeas corpus templates. They have had a high success rate in stopping deportations and getting people out on bail. I'm wondering, for either of you, maybe let's just start with Rommel. Are you familiar with any of these like volunteer initiatives that are moving the needle one way or the other?
Yeah, and that has been one of the aspects that we have seen as the second story, right? Beyond the fear that immigrants are feeling, is that volunteers and community members are sort of taking on this role of learning the legal terminology of habeas corpus petitions, which are federal cases that can challenge an unlawful detention, right? And then you also have groups who are learning pro bono. In this case, you can say like legal assistance to help people file certain petitions that they may need to do for their asylum cases. We have seen, Jackson Heights Community Center in Queens, for example, turn their basement into this legal clinic where an immigration lawyer sort of trains people to send the documentation that they might need without hiring a lawyer. Because, as you know, immigration lawyers charge thousands of dollars, and even in some firms, they are at capacity. So finding legal assistance now has been difficult, and that has led to a lot of nonprofits and mutual aid groups really emphasizing the need of legal assistance and training their members to fill that gap.
And Ralph, how has this shown up in your reporting?
Yeah, well, so there are many Caribbean and Haitian-led organizations assisting immigrants, so they stay mobilized. And from what I've heard from them, they're kind of overwhelmed by the numbers of cases they're dealing with now. It's because since the Supreme Court decision, many people were considering other legal pathway to remain in the United States, and many people are now thinking about what are the options if they're arrested by ICE. And even on our documented account on TikTok, where we provide information in Haitian Creole, I can see clearly that people have a huge interest in everything related to TPS and ICE arrest. So yes, there are many elected officials. There are many organizations. They still have sessions where they inform immigrants about their rights. And these are the places also where immigrants go whenever they face situation, especially when they have their family members in ICE custody.
What are the politicians of Little Caribbean and Flatbush saying about ICE this summer, especially in the wake of the TPS termination?
So the thing is, people are short of options, because it's federal rule, it's federal law. I recently published a story about a Jamaican radio station, which is warning other Caribbean people that what's happening to Haitian now will come to other Caribbean people next. So in that radio show, the host, which is Mr. Erwin Clare, he clearly said that he feels like there is not enough a strong response from Caribbean elected officials, leaders, across the United States, especially in New York. He said that in the past, when the community was facing similar issues, people used to come together, they used to bond and be stronger in terms of responses. But it's something that, it's still, being debated, in the community because with the current administration, I'm talking about the Trump administration, people feel like this is the first time an administration has been so aggressive in terms of immigration policy. So people is still discussing that, the community doesn't have to blame itself because, it is what it is nowadays. But now, elected official, especially Haitian elected official, they still rely on that last hope because there is a law in the Senate floor that would help to extend CPS for Haiti for 3 years. So it is a bipartisan law that passed the House of Representatives, but now they just need that law to be on the floor. And then they need just 5 Republican votes, and they believe that they can secure those 5 votes to help Haitian immigrants have an extra 3 years on their TPS.
I see. So an effort from the federal level. We're just short on time. I want to get 2 more callers down. Let's go to Vincent in Jackson Heights quickly. Hi, Vincent. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for taking my call. I'll be very quick. Just to let you know, first off, I am pro-immigrant. We stand with our allies, our immigrant brothers and sisters. Anti-ICE needs to be abolished or reformed. But my point that I'm calling about is how interesting, in my opinion, why this regime is all their targeting of is racial targeting of immigrants is first of all, I find it super interesting that the business owner, the landscape guy who called up, who literally announced on air that he's hiring immigrants without checking their status. So if the federal government is really interested in what they're talking about, reducing undocumented workers, why aren't they going after the business owners? So you never hear of any business owner being arrested or deported because they're breaking the law. So that's the first thing I find interesting. The second thing is, yes, I can completely attest that ICE has invaded New York City. We see them all over our streets in Corona and Jackson Heights, and I get all of the announcements. And yes, they are ramping up their efforts.
And
in
Vincent,
our neighborhood.
we'll have to cut you off there, but thank you so much for that call and offering that insight. And then very quickly, Lisa in Manhattan, you have a quick question, right?
Thank you. I find this disturbing, and my heart is breaking every day. Every day I wake up and I hear this, and I feel hopeless. Not hopeless, I feel helpless. I don't know how to help. I need to help. I want to help. But nobody has. I don't know what to do. And I'm very concerned. My children could be Haitian. My children could be Dominican. I could be. So how can I help?
Lisa, thank you so much. And Rommel, I'm going to give you the last word here. Let's respond to Lisa quickly. How do you suggest people like Lisa respond?
Yeah, I think there's many different ways to help utilizing the skills that one can have, right? Like if you're an accountant, for example, you can provide that assistance to nonprofits who might be helping immigrants and need to cut costs in other places. There's also a lot of trainings going on in different boroughs where they can train you how to, use like habeas corpus templates to help immigrants who have been detained and help them find release. There's also ways to donate. And in general, I think churches have been very responsive to helping immigrants. Just speaking with the local church to see what programs they have. Sometimes they have donation drives to help people who perhaps have lost one of the providers in the family and now need assistance, with clothes, with food. There's also translation assistance that can be provided. A document that we have a list where people can go in and see volunteering opportunities as well.
Wonderful. So we'll have to leave it there with Rommel H. Ojeda, Senior Community Correspondent and Engagement Reporter for Documented, and Ralph Thomassaint Joseph, Documented's Caribbean Communities Correspondent. Thank you both so much, Ralph and Rommel. Really appreciate your time and your work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.